Okay, it is 9 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting of the Traffic Safety and Emergency Medical Services Committee of the Dunn County to order. Let me bring up my agenda. Roll call. Uh-oh, wait a minute. I just lost everything here. There we go. Patty, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. First order of business. Actually, I checked into Robert's rules this morning because I was a little bit concerned that we might not have a quorum, and we could probably hold the meeting anyway since there is no action that the members have to take other than receiving reports. So I think we're all right. Anyway, approval of the meeting minutes from March 19th, 2021. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Rick moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Kelly McCullough seconds. Any questions about the minutes, corrections, additions? Anything regarding the minutes? Seeing none and hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes from March, say aye. Or
Aye.
raise your hand. Are there any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, the motion carries. Patty, any public comment, or Krista, do we know of any public out there?
I did not receive any.
Okay. Then we will move right to reports, and we'll take them in the order listed in the agenda. DOT traffic engineer. Morning, Melissa. Chad, you get to be first.
All right. I'll start off going through what we have going on for construction. I-94, the Knapp Hill is all done. Yay. We do have we have a little bit of culvert liner work to do in that area between Q and 250th sometime in July is what I'm hearing, but that'll just be like off-peak lane closures if needed to get in and out for access. But for the most part, that stretch is finally done. Highway 85, we got the Rock Creek Bridge replacement. It's got a long detour. We got some traffic problems with semis using some of the local routes and stuff down there. We're still working with project staff and the company and whatnot to try and get people to follow the detours a little better. That's a September 8th completion date is what we're looking at for that project. Highway 170 from Highway 128 in Glenwood to County Trunk D. Culvert work's wrapping up here soon. Milling, I believe, started this week. Paving should start sometime in late June. We've also got cold in place recycle, which will happen from, I believe, from Boyceville East. So it'll be, we'll come through and we'll recycle that pavement and then put a final mat of new pavement over the top of that. They're looking at closing the 79 and 170 intersection to make improvements there so we can get the signals put up here. They're looking at June 28th, so it's going to be closed over the 4th of July holiday. It'll be closed for 30 days max. Let's see. I don't have a completion on that, but it's going to go, project will go most of the summer here yet. There's a lot of work to do yet on that. County Trunk W, we got the Popple Creek Bridge replacement through our local program. The start date, I believe, is the 21st of June here, and it should be done by September 3rd. It'll be closed with no detour posted, but there's some local routes to get around that. The intent is to keep the County Trunk S intersection open since it's right adjacent to that bridge there. But we do got to do a little bit of reconstruction work to that intersection because we're kind of making a new alignment with that bridge. So, but it should be pretty minor impact on that. And then the last project we have is another local program project on the town of Wilson, the 705th Street Pine Creek Bridge replacement. Looks like that's going to start sometime around late August and should take a couple months to complete. The only other thing I got to report is on Highway 29 and County H, we're looking at a HISA project out there to address some of the crashes. Like I mentioned in prior meetings, we've got a contract in place that we're working on right now to study the intersection and get us some alternatives. We're looking at a July kickoff meeting with them and a local officials meeting sometime in August. Once we get things, get some things evaluated, some options and alternatives and stuff, we'll have a PIM probably sometime this winter. We want to make sure we have everything kind of laid out what we want to do there. Just so you guys are aware, we're looking at possibly an R cut or even a J turn as a couple of the alternatives out there. If neither of those work, or we may end up doing some turn restrictions like we did to the east there. Otherwise, that's all I have. Anybody have any questions for me?
Don't see anything, Chad.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, who's next? Rick?
Good morning. Do you want me to share my screen to show the PowerPoint, or I did email it out to everyone. I don't know if they all got it. What would you prefer, sir?
It's up to you, I think. I took a look at the report. If it would be helpful, if you've got particular comments to share the screen, and you can do that easily, why don't you go ahead and do it?
Okay, I'll just go through a couple of things here. This page is a little different. They did update the numbers yesterday. As you can see, there were quite a few more fatalities added to the list, but as of yesterday, 206 fatalities compared to 211 same time last year. Countywide, you can see the numbers, and the locations kind of mimic what we saw the past years. No real surprises on the crash clusters. I guess I should ask, can everybody see that screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No fatalities since the last meeting. There have been some changes to community maps, some updates. If you really want to know the complete notes, you can go on the Transportal and see them, but one of them I will show you momentarily here. When you now go into the analysis area, there's a new print option, which will bring up a screen that looks like this. What it's meant for is you can actually create posters for specific areas. And it'll show you the areas on the overall county map, but then also show you each specific area below that and what the factors are. The second is you can select multiple municipalities. In the past, you could either do the entire county, or you could do, let's say, just the city of Menominee or just the town of Menominee. Now you can pick multiple jurisdictions. And one I'm going to show you later is one that where the sheriff has the primary law enforcement response to those areas. Because as you can see, the majority of it is either on the interstate or primarily in the city of Menominee. So looking at predictive analytics, you can see the entire county, the top 4 are right in the city. And then it expands out to tell you what the areas are and what the factors are. I kind of like the way they break this down, where it shows you 12 crashes in area 1 and it tells you what the factors are. When you look at area 2, the biggest factor is pedestrians. So maybe there's some education that needs to go on there, or maybe some enforcement, or, you know, it gives you an idea of here's our problem area and here's the biggest factor. And it goes through all 5 areas. Interesting that the number 5 area shows almost half the crashes involve a 65+ driver. Some communities are now working with their local senior center, because they're finding that things like the flashing left turn arrow, as well as things that, I mean, I'm 60, so, you know, none of that stuff was there when I took my driving test. There were no flashing left turn arrows, at least not where I lived. So they're just ways to take a look at it and see, is there something we can do or something we need to do? One I did last week for Fond du Lac showed that I think it was 4 out of 10 crashes in the city involved a 65-plus driver. So they're going to start a program there. I'm not seeing that here in Menominee, but just as an example, it does help to be able to know where the areas are. And then, as I said, with the analysis area, you can look at specific areas. So I just said, take out the cities where the sheriff does not have primary jurisdiction, and now tell us where the top 5 areas are. 3 of them are along the interstate, and then you can see where the other 2 are. And what is kind of nice with this is, and I don't know what your sections are, but if you have a deputy who says, I want to know where it is in my area, they can go in and click on the townships and villages that are in their jurisdiction or their primary patrol area and see what the problem areas are and what the issues are. So just as an example with these, you can see the number 1 area is the town of Elk Mound on the interstate, and a third of the crashes involve speeding. The second one is town of Lucas, or almost half the crashes involve speeding. And then so forth with 2 more in the town of Menominee, and then the 5th one in the town of Red Cedar. So it takes out the factor of places like the city of Menominee and other areas where the sheriff's not the primary jurisdiction. Mobilizations, we just finished Click It or Ticket. Agencies should make sure they get the report in. I'm sure if you haven't yet, either Mike or Joe have gotten a hold of you to get the data in. And then our next one is Drive Sober over the Labor Day weekend. Yesterday, most of you should have gotten an invitation to the Governor's Conference on Highway Safety. It'll be completely virtual and free, August 17th through the 19th. If you don't have it, you can click on the link in the email and you can sign up. What I like about this is they give you the schedule, and yes, we would like you to be there from morning to afternoon and look at each of the sessions. But if there are specific sessions you're interested in, you can sign up for the entire event and then just log in during those specific times. Not all of the times are filled yet, but there are a couple of them that I know people have said they really specifically want to see one on bike peds. So they're going to log in for that and maybe not be able to do the entire day, but at least they can do that part of it. And then lastly, if you have any specific requests for data, you can email the crash data analysis unit, and then my information if you have any questions. Also, a side note, there are a lot of legislative things going on, literally changing daily. You can go to the Community Maps website under TSC resources and look for legislative update. She usually updates that once a week. A side note, some of the laws you're hearing about are not on there because they are part of the budget bill. I don't know the entire legislative process, but apparently things can be put through the budget bill that don't go through committee and things like that, like the normal process. So if there's any questions, let me know. Otherwise, you can email me or give me a phone call.
Thank you, Rick. Questions for Rick? Always interested in your reports. It's kind of interesting that 2 of the primary crash causes are teenage drivers and drivers over 65. Age makes a difference.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think where we're seeing the 65 drivers starting to increase compared to last year's, because last year about this time, most people weren't driving, but specifically senior drivers were not driving during the pandemic, because this would have been the first couple of months of the pandemic. So I think the vehicle miles traveled were down, but senior drivers were staying home during this time.
It's curious that I was having coffee with a couple of my cronies this morning, all of whom were over 65. One of the topics of discussion was the flashing left turn arrow, and how it's a really nice feature because it keeps traffic moving, but you have to kind of pay attention. I have a granddaughter who is just taking her just got her learning permit. So I'm looking at that angle too. Anyway, enough of that. Anything else for Rick? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. If not, Mike is next. Anybody here from the railroad? I don't see Mike. All right, then who's next? Scott, Highway Safety Coordinator.
Yep, I don't have a whole lot this time around. Looking at crash information, as Rick noted, we did not have any fatalities since the last meeting. Thank God for that. Crash information, since the last meeting through the 31st of May, we handled 46 total crashes, 12 multi-vehicle crashes, 34 single vehicle crashes, 18 crashes with injuries, with a total of 20 persons injured in those crashes. We did participate in Click It or Ticket, and our report is in, and we are currently participating in the speed enforcement grant. So that's all I've got today.
Thank you, Scott. If it's an injury situation, is there any distinction between minor injuries and more serious? I suppose that would be difficult to quantify, but
There is, I would have to pull that and quantify that. I could do that in future reports if you want that.
not terribly. Well, I don't know, maybe it is, but I'm just curious as to, is there a scale of severity?
There is a distinction, yes.
Okay. Could be interesting, but maybe not. I don't know. Questions for Scott in terms of highway safety? And again,
Jim, I have one
yeah,
question.
Bill, go ahead.
Say good morning, everybody. I was on a phone call, so I was on just a minute late there. Two things that I thought of here. I didn't get an agenda, so I'm a little bit off where I should throw this in, but seeing Rick's report, hearing Scott, I had two things I was going to bring up. One was at exit 45, the railroad crossing there is, I know the southbound side, the southbound lanes, that's pretty rough right there. You hit that going 45 miles an hour. Your vehicle jumps a little bit, at least my truck does. And I know that's an area we've had safety concerns for a long time and just wanted to point that out. The wood that they put in between the tracks, it's, I don't know if there's a hole in there or what, but it's pretty rough. And I know there's a lot of semi traffic and things, and then hit a hole like that could cause a problem. So I just want to pass that one on. One other concern I had was Highway 40 in County Road B, that intersection right on Highway 40. We don't always hear about these accidents, and I'm always interested to see the reports that Rick puts out regarding where they are. I think there were about 3 dots on that particular intersection, but one concern, there's a couple concerns there. And that happened to be my neighbor that was rear-ended at noon, probably a month and a half ago or month ago, and was sitting there because a vehicle was coming to the south. She was sitting there to turn from Highway 40 onto County Road B, and was rear-ended by a car. And I think it was one of these deals where the person was high or intoxicated, marijuana in the vehicle, and no insurance kind of thing. And the reason I'm bringing that up is, had she not been in a good size Ford Raptor pickup that was a new model, a large truck, if she'd have been in her little convertible Miata, I think she'd have been killed, because I think she was hit. I think that vehicle's going 55 or 60 miles an hour. And I saw the truck yesterday and made me think of it again. It's being, well, I don't know, repaired or looked at. But anyway, I bring up that intersection because there is a dip in the road heading, on Highway 40, whether you're heading, well, I guess I'll say northbound. It's one of these things where you can look, you turn your head left, you look back, and a car could be down that dip and it's right on you if you're at the B intersection side. But when you're sitting on 40 waiting to turn, that's a tough spot right there. And that has a potential to be pretty dangerous, I think, for the foreseeable future. So I just wanted to share that. I know there's no quick fix to that, but maybe put that on the radar, just maybe something to look at down the road.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Questions for Bill? As long as he's got the floor, we'll take his, you got anything else to report, Bill, or is that it?
The only report I had was we made it through the school year. We were open every day here in Colfax, COVID related and safety wise. We did all right with that, and basically got everybody out of the building except for everything else going on this summer. So with that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Questions for Bill? If not, thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. Who's up next? John Swirsky. I got a note from John. I think he's on the road this morning. Kelly might be able to fill us in on anything that is coming out of highways. And I think, Kelly, you're up next anyway. Kelly, anything from highways?
Nothing that I can think to add. It's basically routine. I don't unfortunately have the construction schedule handy with me at the moment because I'm not home either. So no, nothing to add. I don't know that John hasn't mentioned anything of significant concern. So
Nobody's home today. You know, one of the advantages of Zoom meetings is exactly this. Anybody here from Highway? I thought John said that somebody might sit in for him. I don't see anybody on my screen. All right, Menominee Police. Anybody here from the Menominee Police Department? Don't see anybody from Menominee Police. Wisconsin State Patrol. Kyle, is that going to be you?
I've got a little bit, but I know Sergeant Greg Benny's on. I'll let him go first. He's on the DSP iPad. He's
Oh,
calling
okay.
in.
Go ahead then.
Or not.
Or not. Or not.
I know he was having difficulties earlier. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll step in. The only thing I have, it's not really Dunn County related yet, but we're seeing it in St. Croix County and we're addressing it with them. Cable barrier crashes, and I know we haven't had too many here on the Dunn side, but we've noticed a small uptick in trends where the vehicles are actually going over the cable barrier system. So as the vehicle's coming in, cross median crash, it's where the cable barrier is on the opposite side. The vehicle's furrowing in through the median in the dirt, and before hitting the cable barrier system, it's catching basically the paver base or the concrete, wherever those poles are getting into. It's catching that first and tripping before getting to the cable barrier system and getting caught. Let me share my screen here and see if I can do this. Let me know if this works. You guys see the picture on there?
Wow. Yeah, I can see it. So you're coming through.
So as the vehicle's coming in and it's obviously rotating, coming in sideways, I'm going to go to a different picture here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit if I can. I think it's number 73. So as it's coming in, the vehicle's tires are right here. They're hitting this paver base where it meets the dirt line. And it's actually starting, this is what's causing the vehicle to trip, and it's going over the cable barrier system, preventing it from being caught. I don't think we've seen this in Dunn County. This is the third incident that I know of in St. Croix County, and we're addressing it there. I just wanted to bring this to your attention just in case we do see this, and we're trying to figure out why. So I don't know if Chad has any input on this or anything, that if he's seen anything.
You know, this is the first I've heard of it, which is odd because right,
this is the first I found out about it too. And we had this is a fatal crash in St. Croix County, May 23rd, overnight. And we didn't see this until the morning. We were going back through the scene and we're trying to figure out why the vehicle tripped over it. And we found there's right in here, there's a definite impact with the side pavement or paving where these poles are getting putting into. So the vehicle's furrowing into the ground, hitting this paver, and that's what's causing it to trip.
Is there a big elevation difference between eastbound and westbound? It looks
there
like
is. We're probably looking at maybe a 10-foot elevation change or more. So that's probably a factor in it too.
okay.
But I think, again, this is the third one in St. Croix County. So I have another meeting with them next month, going through it. Like I said, this just happened May 23rd. So getting into this case where we're finding this out, I'm finally starting to get out and saying, hey, we might have a problem here.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to Dan Bieber. It's our safety engineer. Then I don't know who you guys have been working with on our side, but yeah, we should probably take a look at
haven't
this.
yet. This is the first time I've been able to get out. Like I said, I've picked up, I think, 8 cases in the last 3 weeks, so I'm a little swamped. As far as this being one of them, we saw this as where it's tripping, and I'm like, hey, this is an issue. So
Kyle, do you know of similar examples of this kind of situation in other areas,
I have
or is
not.
that something anybody keeps
put the-
track of?
I put some feelers out. I haven't heard anything back, just as far as this going on. But so far, where it appears to be where that elevation change, where they're going down into the ditch, then hitting the cable barrier system. At least those are the 3 instances in St. Croix County. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I know in Dunn County, we got a little bit wider median and we don't have as much elevation difference between the 2 roadways. So I think that helps. Where St. Croix, we have a lot of areas like that. And some of them, we actually did put 2 rows of cable barrier in, which we may need to look at doing here, but.
right, or even putting the cable barrier system on the high end versus just the low end. I don't know, food for thought, but I just wanted to bring that to folks' attention in case they started seeing this. But I think this was the 3rd, and this ended up going fatal. So, but the reason it went fatal is because nobody was wearing a seatbelt. Should have been a survivable crash. So that's all that I got.
Thank you, Kyle. Questions for Kyle, or Kyle, do you have anything else from State Patrol?
Not unless Sergeant Fenny has any, but I can't figure out how to not stop sharing my screen here.
That's a pretty
There we
picture.
go.
There you go. You guys that know how to share your screens are way ahead of me anyway, so that's thank you. Anybody from DNR? I can't. I'm trying. I've got my laptop here. I usually have a desktop where I can keep my documents in my Zoom screen all at once, but I don't have that space. So I can't see everybody. Where are we? Bill, you've given your report already. Thank you for that. Dunn County Board. Kelly, do you have anything? Dunn County Board done anything that we need to report? Nothing I can think of.
No, I can't think of anything offhand either. Just quickly mentally reviewing the last couple of exec committees, and I don't think we've got anything to add.
Nothing I can think of. Community members, Ryan, I saw his box
can you
lit
hear me?
up. I can. Go ahead,
Perfect.
Ryan.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to add. Just we made it through the school year. Everything seemed to go pretty well. Just want to make people aware that we still are running summer school. We have about 10 buses out there for that. So hopefully we don't have too many running through the stop signs and stuff like that. Towards the end of the year, it got a lot better. I know the Dunn County Sheriff's Department helped us out a lot with a few tickets and a few awareness programs and stuff like that. So that was a lot better as well. Other than that,
Thank you,
I
Ryan.
ain't got too much. Yeah, you're welcome.
Questions? All right. First responders. I don't see Shanna's name. Is there anybody who wants to speak for first responders? You see the DSP iPad lit up? No?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can?
You can hear me?
Well, I can hear you.
Great. Yes. Sorry about that. This is my first Zoom meeting, so I thought I had it figured out. I'm actually on my state cell phone plus the iPad, so I'm not sure what device you're actually listening to me. But anyway, I'm here. I'm here in proxy with for Sergeant Anduzzi Bell. My name is Greg Venny. I recently was promoted to the motor carrier sergeant last August 2020. So I took Bill Berger's spot, if you knew him. Yeah, and I actually was a Dunn County trooper back 2001, 2003. Then I entered the Menominee scale for about 10 years, and then I had transferred over to Chippewa County. So anyway, just for that background, I did want to say thanks for letting me hear, and I'll touch a little bit too about some commercial motor vehicle items that we are doing pretty regularly. Some what we call predictive analytics details, reference commercial motor vehicle crashes. We do use the community maps that you had saw earlier. And we've had some good success with that as far as finding some violations, putting some vehicles out of service as such. So we feel good about the details that we're doing to make the county safer. Also, update with Menominee scale. Currently, we only have one inspector assigned to it, although he does a wonderful job out there. He is one of the very best inspectors in the area. He consistently tracks down the vehicles that don't stop at the scale and does a very good job. He puts a lot of drivers out of service for not having a CDL when they are required to do so. So he's a very aggressive inspector. I think something that the county can be proud to have somebody in their working in their county. Also, the Menominee scale is going to have, as you may be aware, it is going to have some upgrading, not till 2024, but the plans are in place for the, I guess, a different design for the building, and then with the addition of the highway salt shed in the back there. So we're looking forward to that. Also, we're currently working on we get complaints every once in a while about the Rock Falls construction project down there with the township has posted, I think it's 150th as a Class B road, and we still have semis that are going over that. Of course, Class B road just means that they are allowed up to 60% of what normally they would be allowed. So if a commercial motor vehicle is running through there, they still could do so as long as they're under that limit. So if they were empty or something like that. But just this morning, I had talked to an inspector that's working down that area, and they end up getting a truck that was overweight. So we are paying attention as best as we can to that area and any other concerns that come up. I know I've been to a town meeting. I can't remember exactly what town it was, but we had every year we have the posted road complaints, and we try our best to deal with those for you. As far as crashes, Sergeant Anduzzi Bell wanted me to relate. Since March, we have handled 13 crashes, 0 fatalities. 9 of those had injuries, unknown on the severity of the injuries. 2 were car deer crashes. In addition to that, we have the bot projects, Click It or Ticket, participated in that over the last 2 weeks in May. And then also we'll be doing 2 to 4 aircraft speed details near the Knapp Hill area for the remainder of the summer. So we'll provide some good progressive enforcement in that area. Also, for the Ridgeland Fair that's coming up, there will be some officers up there for some OWI details as well. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Greg, and welcome. It is Greg, right? Not Craig?
Yes.
Great. Welcome to the group. I appreciate your input. Thank you. Any questions?
Greg, I'm sorry, what is your last name?
Is Benny, V as in Victor, E-N-N-E.
Did you get it, Patty? Very good. All right, thank you. Red Cedar Medical Center, I got an email from Mary this morning. She's occupied with another meeting. She did send in a report. I don't know how many of you got that. If you're interested and didn't get it, I can forward it to you. And I'm easily accessible through the Dunn County email system. It's jtrip at county.dunn.wisconsin.us. You can find that on the Dunn County website. So if you're interested in looking at her report, give me a email and I'll shoot it out to you. KT Gallagher is saying, yes, Patty.
I'm sorry, we skipped Red Cross 6A. Jenny is present.
Do I do that again every year or every month? Do I skip the Red Cross? And Jenny is here. I see her. Jenny, I apologize.
No apologies needed. No problem.
That's all right. I apologize regularly because go ahead, please.
Well, thank you. No, just a short update from us. The Red Cross, we've been trying to do our responses when we get called out for residential fire remotely as much as possible in the past year or so. And we are starting to transition now to have in-person response when we have volunteers who are available and comfortable in doing this, and also when the clients are comfortable with in-person. We just started that transition a couple weeks ago. So that's something that's changed for us. And the other update is if there is a larger disaster, larger event, we are now using congregate sheltering. So our traditional shelters, before we were trying to utilize non-congregate, which is utilizing hotels first, but now we're going to go back to our normal sheltering approach of opening large shelters first, and then utilizing hotels when we're doing our transition. So trying to get back to our normal response approach. So that's it for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Any questions for Jenny? The congregate shelters, I'm sure would depend on the nature of the disaster in terms of how many people you need to shelter, but you have identified sites where those are available at a moment's notice?
Yeah, we have some sites that we have pre-approached some schools. I don't have the exact sites on hand, but that's what we usually do is approach some schools or churches or any facility that's suitable to be a shelter. And we will work with the either incident command or emergency management or who's managing that response if they have an ideal area, and we will try to locate a facility there. The other thing is if we need to open a facility as a shelter and it's not on our list, we can work with that also. So we're not limited to our list as long as the facility owner will allow us to kind of process that. So we can do it at that time also. So we're not restricted to just what's on our current list.
Sure. Thank you, Jenny. And again, I've got to believe that it would depend on the nature of the situation in terms of how many people need shelter and perhaps for how long they might need it. Thank you, Jenny. And again, absolutely. I apologize for skipping over you. So
no problem.
Next time you'll be first on the list. Oh, you're first on the list this time. Back to Katie Gallagher. She did send me a note that she would be on vacation, well-deserved, I'm sure. And her report to the county board a few nights ago indicated that the concern at this point is a relatively low vaccination rate in Dunn County. And so they're looking for opportunities to make the vaccine more readily available. So health department is open to all kinds of suggestions, and if they are invited to someplace to set up a vaccination clinic, they're more than happy to do so. So if you've got any thoughts in that direction, they would welcome those. The Mistress of Disasters, Melissa Gillenbach.
Hi there.
Good morning.
We really didn't have disasters per se, thank goodness. But just in the last week, we did have a couple incidents that we had to do some work on. Last Friday, we had that interesting kind of storm roll through Dunn County. And it was kind of coming from the Elmwood area. It was very small in width, I guess, for the county. And it just kind of started in the western portion, southwest, and moved through the city of Menominee and kind of headed up towards Colfax. And not exactly sure, but we had a lot of trees down, wires down, people without power. The calls coming into the comm center probably took at least 2 hours to get a handle on exactly how much we had going on. We had so many calls about trees over roadways and wires down and arcing and different things like that. So hoping that kind of cleaned up some of the dead trees and things that are along the roadway. That first storm of the year, that's kind of what happens is some of the dead trees or the weaker trees kind of, get taken care of in that first storm. So hoping that was kind of it. Because it did take a toll on, the sheriff's department was very busy. The fire department was out. There was a lot of people without power and several hours without power. So we worked with that. And then we did have a chemical spill last Tuesday evening down on County Trunk E. It ended up to be, fairly minor because they cleaned it up very fast, but it was some asphalt sealant, Monarch paving truck, I believe, from the information I have, possibly came into the corner a little too fast and did tip that vehicle over and had about 1,600 pounds of asphalt sealant leak into the ditch and a little bit into the farmer's field. It was across the road from the old Elk Lake, if you know where that is. So, there was a waterway that was close. It was not in danger of leaking into that, but it was close. Thank goodness Monarch Paving / Matthew Construction came out that night, worked till 4 a.m. and did get it cleaned up. So that was good. But we did have that last Tuesday evening. So that's about all I have, unless anybody has any questions on that.
I just had a comment. I had a reason to call 911 in downtown Menominee a couple weeks ago, and the response was just outstanding. 911 did great work. Menominee Police and South Police were both on the scene within about, I don't know, a minute and a half. It was just really well done, and I appreciated it. I wanted to say thank you.
Good. Thank you, Kelly. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Melissa. Any other comments or questions for Melissa? Actually, that roofing spill the other day came up in yesterday's meeting of the emergency planning, and the driver reported that he had a partial load and the load was shifting a little bit, and that was one of the causes. And apparently the truck flipped end for end, right? The report was that the truck was a wreck, and it was sort of amazing that the driver got out unscathed.
Yeah, he was very minor injuries,
Yeah. Thank you, Melissa.
Yep.
Anybody here from the highway traffic safety? Scott, you're up again. Anything new in this category?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Fire department, anybody from the fire service here?
Yeah, this is Andy Benrud.
Andy, I'm sorry, I didn't see your box lit up down there.
Yeah, so not a whole lot to report. I was on that call on County Road E. Turned out pretty well for what could have happened with the waterway there, and could have easily been a fatality. So that turned out pretty good. Our call volume, we're up about 20% above where we were last year. We were just slower with COVID and people weren't out and about doing things. So we believe that we're busier just because people are out doing things again, getting on with life. A lot of the local hospitals are full. I'm not sure why, but we're doing a lot of interfacility transfers to the.
I just lost my sound.
What's that?
I lost my sound here, Andy.
Okay, just a second
There, I can hear you now.
Okay, so yeah, we're doing a lot of interfacility transfers to local hospitals. A lot of the Eau Claire hospitals are full. And with COVID, we're not really seeing many COVID patients anymore as far as hauling them in the ambulance. So that's good, and that's about it.
Great, thank you. One of the things that Mary included in her report was numbers in terms of hospitalizations. And I think part of it is accounted for by the postponement of a number of surgery last year. And I think they're starting to catch up on that. And Katie Gallagher also to add one little bit of that. And Kelly, you might remember the numbers, but she was talking about the number of hospitalizations in the past year due to the standard flu. And it seems like it went down from 200 and some to, what did she say, 14?
I think it was about an order of magnitude. So it was somewhere around 365 down to about 37 was the sort of the level of jump I saw.
Yeah, and then I don't remember the numbers, but that range sounds right. So anyway, that might account for the resumption of surgery may account for some of that hospital capacity at this point. Anything else for fire EMS? Thank you, Andy. I don't see Katie Wontok here. For extension, I imagine she's kind of busy this time of year. Well, she's busy all times of year. She's got all kinds of things going. And that concludes our reports unless I missed anybody or anybody's got anything to add at this point.
Jim, could I make a comment?
Go ahead, Scott.
It'd be for Katie. The Dunn County Dairy Breakfast is going to be a drive-through breakfast this year down at Bear Creek Farms on County P in the town of O'Galley, west of County D. That's the last Saturday in June. It'd be the 26th. And then I'm told also there should be a drive-through site where you can get milk and cheese at the Countryside Co-op facility just east of exit 45 there. So I believe their website, or there should be a dairy promotion website that you can get further information on, but I want to throw that out there. That will be a drive-through breakfast.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I'm wondering where they're publicizing that. Probably on the Dunn County website and on the extension website. Thank you. Anything else anybody wants to add before we move on to the next item of business? All right, thanks to all of you. Your reports are always interesting, timely, and useful. One more piece of business, and that is I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on continuing these meetings via Zoom or whether there's a preference for meeting in person. So if anybody's got thoughts, comments on that, I'd welcome that at this point. Rick.
As much as I am all in favor of in-person meetings, what I've noticed, especially this meeting, but a number of others, is we get much better attendance when it's by Zoom than we do in person. And I think some of that is because you're not, driving, even if it's 15 or 20 minutes, you're not driving to the meeting, you're there for an hour and then driving home. This one especially, I think we get much better attendance via Zoom. And unless we're significantly missing something, I'm open to either way. I have no problem taking a drive there. It's a beautiful area and I'd like spending the night, but I'm not sure if Patty can tell us, but I think our attendance is better with Zoom than it had been in person.
It has been.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate the comment. Today is kind of a good example. I'm not in town today. Kelly's not in town today. Zoom allows us to continue these meetings working around some other scheduling things. My personal feeling is that the kind of business we do at this meeting, which is primarily reports, are pretty successful on Zoom. And I think Rick is right. I don't have that background, but I think the attendance is probably greater and a little bit easier doing it via Zoom. Other thoughts?
Yeah, my sense is, I have various meetings for this in city council, and some of them work, I think, substantially better on Zoom because of the geographic diversity of where everybody is, and this seems to be one of those. This seems to be working very well as a Zoom meeting. I have some that don't work terribly well, but this one does.
And again, I would agree with Kelly. The county does some hybrid meetings where we have some people live and in person and some people on Zoom. Technically, that's kind of difficult to do, and I would not recommend that. And I also agree that there are some meetings, I think, where it's helpful that people sit face to face and have the discussions that they need to have. But in the case of this group, And again, my experience is much more limited than most of you, so you've got to tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like these reports are pretty successfully delivered via Zoom. This is not an action item, but I'm getting a sense that if we continue the Zoom meetings, no one will be terribly unhappy. I want to see big smiley faces from everybody. Thank you, folks. I appreciate it. At least for the time being, then we're going to continue having the meetings via Zoom. If nothing else, I think it saves a lot of people some travel time. That's it for my agenda. Has anybody got anything in terms of announcements or for the good of the order? And I can't get back to my agenda to see if I missed anything. Uh-oh. All right, seeing nothing. Our next meeting date is scheduled for September 17th, 9 a.m. That will be a Zoom meeting. And again, thanks to all of you for what you do, how you do it, and sharing your reports. Always interesting and useful. Thank you very much, folks. Have a good summer.